Right, Steam, new series. Let's kick off.
July 2025. Approximately 100 games removed from Steam, not because they violated the platform's rules as they existed when the games were sold, because a payment processor changed its content policy and Valve needed to comply. 80,000 people signed an anti-censorship petition. The games stayed removed. The refund window for titles purchased years earlier had long closed. The subscriber agreement always allowed this. Licensed, not sold. That is the language in the contract every user has agreed to. No title or ownership. The platform can discontinue access at its sole discretion. The library built over 20 years is a collection of revocable licenses held by a company generating over $17 billion in gross revenue with roughly 360 employees, 41 million users online simultaneously in January 2026. The necessary evil, the community calls it. Not with contempt, with recognition. Gabe Newell and Mike Harrington left a major technology company in 1996 to found a game studio. Their first title shipped in 1998 and became one of the most critically acclaimed games in the industry. Steam launched in September 2003, not as a storefront but as a patch distribution and anti-piracy system for that studio's own games. The client was so poorly received at launch that players resented being forced to use it to play games they already owned. The transformation happened over years. The sequel to the original game required the client. The competitive multiplayer title required it. Every game the studio made required it. Then third-party publishers found that the user base made it the obvious distribution channel. A mandatory update client became a storefront, then a social network, then a platform. Each layer, overlays, workshops, trading cards, remote play, family sharing, made the ecosystem progressively harder to abandon, even for users who disliked its terms. The dominance was not the result of a deliberate platform strategy. It was the accumulated consequence of every major release requiring the client and every publisher following the audience. By 2026, the platform holds approximately 70 to 75% of all digital game distribution. The corporate structure is famously unusual. There are no managers and no reporting hierarchy. Employees choose what to work on. Teams form around ideas. The practical effect on the platform is visible in one area above all others: support. The notorious unresponsiveness is partly a product of the flat structure. No one is clearly responsible for fixing it at scale. A $17 billion revenue platform with 360 employees has not invested in support infrastructure proportional to its user base. The subscriber agreement is explicit. Content is licensed, not sold. The license confers no title or ownership. The platform may discontinue offering access to content for reasons including if it determines in its sole discretion that it is no longer appropriate. The license cannot be transferred, resold, or inherited. 3 clauses that define the model: a revocable license, not ownership; termination at the platform's choosing; no transfer rights. The July 2025 game removals are the clearest illustration of what this means in practice. A payment processor decided certain content violated its acceptable use policies. The platform, to retain payment processing, removed the content. Users who purchased those titles years earlier had no refund pathway because the standard refund policy covers only recent purchases within a 2-hour playtime and 14-day window. Whether the installed copy continues to work depends entirely on whether the game requires server authentication. The May 2025 data breach scare spread claims that 89 million records had been compromised. The platform confirmed no breach of its own systems. The data consisted of old authentication logs from a third-party provider, text messages containing one-time codes that had already expired, no passwords, no payment information, no account credentials. The relief was real. The residual concern was also real. A third party possessed 89 million records associated with user accounts, which confirms the scale and the complexity of the authentication infrastructure. The anti-cheat system applies permanent bans based on automated detection with no meaningful human review and no reversal pathway. The community anxiety around using compatibility tools on secured games is real and surfaces regularly in discussions, because a permanent ban on a multiplayer title is a significant loss of access with no appeal. The legal challenges to the subscriber agreement are active across multiple jurisdictions. A consumer rights body in one European country argued that the terms are incompatible with law because the agreement prohibits users from reselling games, which conflicts with a ruling that digital goods can be resold. A court in another European country ruled that the resale ban conflicts with the law on software resale rights. A $656 million class action in the United Kingdom alleges that the 30% commission constitutes an abuse of market dominance that harms both developers and consumers, arguing that the platform's terms prevent developers from selling at lower prices on competing storefronts. However, none of these legal challenges have, as of this research, forced the platform to become a true ownership model. The legal pressure validates the consumer concerns, but has not changed the fundamental terms. What the platform gets right is also documented and significant. The refund policy within the 2-hour and 14-day window is the most consumer-friendly refund policy of any major game platform. The investment in compatibility technology that makes most titles designed for one operating system run on another is arguably the most significant infrastructure investment in the industry in the 2020s. The handheld hardware that shipped in 2022 made an alternative operating system viable for mainstream players. The library remains the largest of any digital platform. The community features, reviews, guides, workshops, cloud saves, and remote play represent a non-commerce layer that is valuable independently of the storefront. The scale is extraordinary. Over 41 million concurrent users served by roughly 360 employees. The tools that follow in this comparison exist because of Steam. The handheld hardware and the compatibility layer created a Linux gaming ecosystem that was viable enough for mainstream players to want their non-Steam libraries in the same environment. The open source launchers, game managers, and compatibility environment tools that this comparison covers are not replacements for the platform. They are the tools the community built to work around it, to bring other libraries to the operating system that the platform's own hardware runs, to find the gaps between what the platform controls and what it does not. The probability that the platform disappears tomorrow is low. The revenue, the user base, the market position, the absence of a viable competitor with comparable library size all suggest operational continuity for years to come. The probability that the subscriber agreement's terms will be used against users in ways they do not expect at the moment of purchase is not theoretical. It is documented history. 100 games removed in July 2025. Payment processor pressure, no refund for purchases outside the standard window. The agreement always allowed this. The platform is the center of gravity for the industry it serves. The community's phrase for it is accurate. The necessary evil. The platform they use every day is also the platform that says in its own contract that they never owned any of it. The refund policy is generous within its window. The compatibility investment is transformative. The library is unmatched. The community features are valuable. The support is inadequate. The ownership model is a license that can be revoked. The anti-cheat system is permanent with no appeal. The legal challenges are active but have not changed the terms. No other platform offers the combination of library size, community infrastructure, hardware compatibility, and discovery that this one provides. No other platform's contract language carries the same implications for what happens to your library if the platform's priorities change, a payment processor's policies shift, or the subscriber agreement is exercised in a way the user did not anticipate when they clicked purchase. The necessary evil remains necessary. Whether it remains acceptable is a question each user answers every time they add a title to a library they do not own.